In America, the tension between black and white Americans is becoming increasingly noticeable in the media. One reason that Black Lives Matter has formed is because of feelings of mistreatment by law enforcement. The image of a black male in a hoodie is seen as a red flag indicator of crime, but where did it come from? My name is Jiyoon Song, and this is the African American image of crime.
Cotton was such an important part of the plantation system that it came to be called King Cotton.
Oh really? Was cotton so great that there was a need to enslave black Americans? Slavery was legal until 1865. African Americans went through brutal treatments and were given no civil liberties.
Now what is your name?
Even after slavery was abolished, a new way to segregate blacks from the whites came about: Jim Crow laws. Blacks and whites used separate seatings at restaurants and in public transportation vehicles, and more. The Jim Crow laws continued until the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Many African Americans were arrested during these times, and when the war on drugs was imposed by Nixon, it didn't help either. During and after the times of the Vietnam War, many Americans were using drugs recreationally. Nixon used the war on drugs to arrest many leftist protesters and blacks. He created a new image for blacks that they were drug abusers and were the ones to blame for crime. The war on drugs had created a new Jim Crow.
Turns out, it was not because they were concerned that drugs were really dangerous for Americans. It was for attacking their political enemies. And the Nixon White House after that had two enemies: the anti-war left and black people. You understand what I'm saying? We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or black, but by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news.
So what have these historical events resulted in? As shown earlier, conflicts between law enforcement, between whites and blacks, and more. Through the unfair treatment that African Americans have received over the years, they have been given the image of crime. So how do we resolve these issues? We must educate the people about African American history. Unfair treatments have put the black Americans at a disadvantage, and it is important to acknowledge that the community's image of crime was not self-caused. It was the Americans who caused it, so it is up to them to take restorative action. Thank you.